welcome to Jefferson Liberty Radio, the voice of the state of Jefferson in the Central Valley. I am Matthew. We have a fantastic interview coming up, but first, let me tell you about our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Al Certified Safe and Lock. Al's offers locksmithing services and alarm systems for a range of applications, including burglary, fire, tamper, medical emergencies, and much more. Al's has been locally owned and managed in Modesto for nearly 70 years, and with thousands of loyal and satisfied customers, you can be sure Al's will meet and exceed your needs. For more information, call 1-800-700-4780 or go to alsalarm.com. That's ALSALARM.com. Thanks so much to Al Certified Safe and Lock for sponsoring our show. And if you're interested in sponsoring our show, you can head over to jeffersonlibertyradio.com or email us at sponsors@jeffersonlibertyradio.com. All right, well, I said at the beginning we have a fantastic interview, so let's jump right over to that now.
Well, today, folks, we have a citizen activist with us, one from Stanislaus County, who's been very involved with our community efforts. And we're very happy to have Teresa Gamboa with us, who has been on many boards and many committees. We'd like to welcome you, Teresa. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, Alan. Thank you for having me, Pat.
Welcome.
I'm honored. It's my first time on the radio.
You're going to do great.
Well, golly, Teresa, how many boards and committees have you served on over the years?
Oh, 9 or 10. I got started with Neighborhood Watch.
Oh.
And I started Neighborhood Watch because I saw a need during the downturn. And Neighborhood Watch morphed into helping to organize Modesto Neighborhoods Incorporated. And from there, it went to a position on the StanCog Citizens Advisory Committee and a church committee. And I serve on the Stanislaus Republican Central Committee, and I've been part of Focus on Prevention and the PEP BSCC Committee, and I'm a former member of the Capital Improvement Program Task Force for the City of Modesto, and a board member of my church.
When did you ever have time to sleep or eat?
I have that problem now.
Oh, boy, do I feel like a slug. You are so good. Good
now,
job.
You mentioned a committee or a board that has a whole bunch of alphabet letters in it. Do you know what those letters stand for?
I don't remember. And I tried to ask a couple of people before the interview today so that I could tell you. But I can tell you that what it is it was a group of people involving all law enforcement agencies in the county, juvenile justice, family justice, the Boys and Girls Club. And what they do is gather around the table in the police department and discuss how to use funds, federal grant funds that came to our county to help keep kids busy and out of trouble.
Well, that's an ambitious program.
Yes, it is. It was JAG funding, and so that was from the Justice Center, and I'm not sure if that was the Federal Justice Center, but we haven't met all year because when Governor Brown designated us as a sanctuary state, we lost that funding.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that because I'm sure that was a much needed community activity.
Well, it was. We planned activities for the children through the Juvenile Justice Center. There was a few people that were very, very active in that community. It helped send kids to camp, lower income kids to camp.
Yeah,
through the Boys and Girls Club, and it sponsored programs for them. And our county needs that.
Oh, yes.
Now, that's a shame that that's gone by the way. Well, what are some of the other activities on the boards that you've attended? I think you mentioned StanCog.
Yes, StanCog is short for the Stanislaus Council of Governments, and they are a metropolitan planning organization, and they do all things roads. So when we get federal money or state money for road planning, it goes to StanCog, and they help us spend it and divide it up. And so on the policy board is made up of all 5 county supervisors and a representative from each municipality in our county.
Okay. What does that include? I think was it Measure L money that was passed by Stanislaus County citizens?
Yes, that Measure L came from the policy board.
Interesting. Well, I'm sure StanCog does other things, don't they? Or
They do as a metropolitan planning organization, they do all modes of transportation. So they oversee the bus systems, the sidewalks, the bicycle lanes. So a city can give them a project that they'd like to do and send it to the policy board. I serve on the Citizens Advisory Committee, and we meet at the first of the month, and the policy board meets on the third Wednesday. And sometimes you'll hear a member say, well, I'd like to hear what the Citizens Advisory Committee thinks of this. And we let them know. We usually pass just about everything that comes our way, but we occasionally will vote against things.
Things that don't make sense or are more expensive than they ought to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that Stanislaus County? Was it SMART? That bus system that runs around the county, is that something that was START?
Yeah. Stanislaus Area Rapid Transit.
Yes,
that stands for.
Yeah, my grandson rides that a lot.
Yeah, my sister used to until she got a car.
Wow, well, that's quite impressive. You said you started, was it the Woodland West Community Neighborhood?
Yes.
And what did you do, or how did you get? What prompted you to get that going? And
well, actually, that came from the person that organized the La Loma neighborhood. You might remember the La Loma neighborhood started because they were having lots of problems and they weren't getting enough help, they felt, from the city. So they organized their neighborhood and started lobbying the city and the police to get things done in their neighborhood. They were very successful. So then they went to the college area people and helped them organize, and then the Delwood neighborhood, and then Michael J. Meridian Jr., who's a local business owner, started all those groups. And he came to us and gathered all the neighborhood watch leaders in the area and said, this is what I've done, and I think it could be beneficial to you. What do you guys think? And there was about 15 of us sitting around the room, and we thought, well, we don't really have the issues that La Loma had when they started, but we do see room for improvement in our neighborhood, and we decided to organize Woodland West Community Neighborhood that day, and I was elected chairperson, and I still am.
Wow.
And a good one at that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I see, Pat, you must live in that Woodland
I do, and she
West
keeps
Community neighborhood.
I do, and she keeps us abreast on anything and everything that's happening in our neighborhood. Very well organized lady.
Thank you, Pat.
I appreciate her.
That's probably why she's so successful.
Yes.
Being well organized is a skill, that attribute or skill for sure.
That's how I got on all these other committees. You know, as things would come up, I would go lobby or speak or make a request, a public request, and that's how I got on the Citizens Advisory Committee. And I represent the county on that committee, and they needed a county person from StanCog to be on the Capital Improvement Program Task Force, so I got elected to do that.
And you had time to do that too.
Well, that was a morning meeting, so that wasn't that hard.
So I do have a question for you. All of the different positions and committees in the city, are there quite a few of them that are have places for people to be able to work? Are there empty positions? Are there spots that haven't been filled by citizens, is what I'm asking.
On the Citizens Advisory Board Committee, yes.
Okay.
Yes, there are, because they like to have a person from each municipality, and it's hard to get somebody to come from. We have somebody from Newman, but I don't think we have anybody from Riverbank. We have somebody from Turlock and Waterford. I don't think we have someone from Oakdale. We have a person from Modesto, and I represent the county. But we need someone from Patterson.
And you said Newman?
Yeah, we have someone from Newman.
Oh, you do? Okay. So Riverbank was the other one. Okay.
Riverbank and Oakdale are the two of the missing.
And Patterson.
Yeah. Do you consider like Wesley or as a community?
There are nine cities in the county. And the others, the other communities like Empire and Salida, those are unincorporated areas.
Oh, so they're not considered as part of that.
They're represented by the county member.
I see.
And that would be you.
Yep.
But Waterford would be a community.
Yes.
And Denair.
I don't think
Houston.
so. Yeah, Houston. Let's see. There's Modesto, Turlock, Riverbank, Oakdale, Patterson, Waterford. Can you help me, you guys?
Did you say Newman?
Newman.
Houston.
You said Houston.
Maybe she said it already. Well, that's
9.
quite a...
We know there's 9.
Well, that's a good question, Pat.
Well, thanks, Alan.
There's obviously other boards that have positions open that citizens ought to consider becoming a part of.
Absolutely. It's really easy to get involved and represent your community or even your own interests at your own house. And there are positions in both the city and the county where a person could get paid to fill in some of those spots. You would need to be elected, but absolutely all the subcommittees that the city council has, those are all public meetings, and they're not very well attended.
That's sad.
So if somebody got, listening to this podcast and had an interest in following up, where would they go to find out what board or community had a shortage of people, and who would they go ask?
The city or county clerk would know about the paid positions, and you can get a lot of information from the Stanislaus County website and from the City of Modesto website. And they both, you can find all that information on those websites.
Oh, that's fantastic, Teresa. Thank you. So any of you listeners out there, here's your opportunity to be part of the community. You could become a citizen activist, just like Teresa, What were your challenges and concerns with your boards? Are there any that you felt were more challenging than others?
Time is I'd like to be on more boards and do more things and be more active. But time is an issue because I have a home and I have a dog, and my biggest priority is my home and my dog and practicing my faith in the Lord and my community. And that comes first and foremost. Is after almost 8 years, people have come to me. And today, I told my nephew, today was not my own, because I had lots of phone calls and people stopping by and lots of interruptions. And sometimes I'll have to stop and talk to somebody and help them and guide them. And I get interrupted a lot. And that's very rewarding, very, very rewarding work when you have the answers and somebody doesn't have to get on the phone and be frustrated and try to find the answers. And sometimes I can resolve issues instead of having to call the police or get a county organization involved. And that's really beneficial to the neighborhood.
What an asset.
What has been your most rewarding experience? If you think back to all the committees and
you think of one
boards that you've served on, what was the most rewarding experience you've had? You were just telling us about people calling you and what a joy it is to be recognized for your skills.
Well, the police tell me all the time that we have one of the best neighborhoods in the city.
They do.
When I started Neighborhood Watch, if you want to ask grassroots, when I started Neighborhood Watch, after 6 months, Chief Harden told me, "You've reduced crime 8%. And that's a lot. And so we have been able to maintain that low crime because our neighborhood is so organized. We have the largest neighborhood watch group in the city.
Wow.
And so I think keeping the neighborhood safe and clean is probably the most rewarding thing, quality of life.
Wow. Well, that's valuable, and I certainly applaud you for your efforts and what you've achieved.
Thank you, Alan.
I'm grateful. Thank you. Thank you, Teresa.
You mentioned earlier about your starting the Woodland West Community Neighborhood. To better understand the committee, can you tell us a little bit about why you did it and what was the outstanding item that you saw that you felt needed to be dealt with?
That's an easy one. The borders of Woodland West Community Neighborhood include 4 county pocket areas. And some of those areas had been severely underserved. And one of the first things that we were able to accomplish was to have a road repaved that hadn't been done in 60 years, but was a major artery in our neighborhood. We had Rosemore repaved from Kansas to Blue Gum. And when people saw that, they were thankful, and more people came on board. And that is an example of what an organized neighborhood can do for a community.
Oh, that's very impressive. Now, is that an area, those pockets, are those west of Carpenter Road?
Yes.
And they go...
They go to Morse Road. Our Woodland West Community Neighborhood is Carpenter Road on the east, Morse Road on the west, Kansas Avenue on the south, and Blue Gum on the north. And it includes the opposite sides of those borders. For instance, MJC West and the Juvenile Hall and the Juvenile Probation. That's all part of us. And the Symphony part of our neighborhood. That's a newer subdivision.
Wow, that's impressive. I could see why you're obviously proud of your achievement there.
It broke my heart to resign from Modesto Neighborhoods, but I needed to slow down to take care of Woodland West, because Modesto Neighborhoods Incorporated is the umbrella organization for the other organized neighborhoods. And that is great work in itself, but they are made up of members of each steering committee from each organized neighborhood, and they help new neighborhoods organize. And the goal is to have the city of Modesto covered with organized neighborhoods. We now have 9, and I helped 2 of them get started, and that was really rewarding because every neighborhood is different and has its own unique nuances and issues and problems to work on, and that was very, very satisfying to help. I wish I could help more. If I could, I would, but what I had at home and in the neighborhood was too much to do. Modesto neighborhoods also, but I still attend and I'm still involved.
Oh, that's great.
I think you're doing a great job, and what you just be proud of what you're doing, because you keep saying you should do more. I think you're doing enough right there, dear.
Well, what I would like is to have more steering committee members and maybe a few subcommittees to go to some of these subcommittee meetings at the city and the county level to represent us better, because we could do better, and every neighborhood could do better, and every neighborhood deserves that.
Well, you commented that the city is attempting to try to create neighborhood groups.
Well, they're supportive.
Yeah, there's one in our area, and I think it's a neighborhood. It's called Sherwood Park.
Mm-hmm.
That is a neighborhood group of this of the sort that you're describing.
Yes, they are. I'm not sure if they're part of Modesto neighborhoods, but they have been in contact with that board.
Now I know it's the lady that runs it, and she's quite active and take care of stuff. I mean, she has all kinds of events for citizens in the neighborhood.
You have to keep people involved, and it's important to keep the kids busy.
Yeah, no kidding. We have enough issues with that. Let me branch out into a little different area. We, the 3 of us, Matthew and Pat and myself, have been part of a group that's been trying to create the state of Jefferson. The concept of that is that it would be county-centric in organization. In other words, instead of having the state call all the rules and regulations, it'd be really the county that would be doing those sorts of things. With your community activism, do you think these kinds of communities or organizations are applicable in a, say it was a clean sheet of paper and starting from with really nothing to go by other than past experience? Is this something that would be applicable?
Oh, I think so. I think so, because we've shown that the organized neighborhood can save municipalities money. It does cost a little bit of money to get one started, but it has saved money, and it helps to keep people involved. So I would say yes.
Would there be any changes to, and maybe the way they would be organized?
I don't think so. I think that the biggest change would be how we would get services, and who we would request those services from.
You think there's enough opportunity to gather those services just within the community, within the county?
Yes, I do.
So we're a pretty well organized county in that respect.
Yes, and a city too.
Yeah, and well, yes, certainly the cities. Actually, the state of Jefferson that we're attempting to create. Stanislaus County would be the most populous county of all 23. So actually, we would have a good base of operations to begin with. What do you think would be important for additional committees or boards? Do you see any need for additional or committees or boards?
Once the state of Jefferson is formed?
Well, I think even under California's situation, considering that all the money stayed here within the county.
I think we have too much government.
Oh, interesting.
I think that if you were going to form a state of Jefferson, you would want less government.
That's right. Yes, that's what we're trying to do. Exactly.
And so I'm not sure what you would want to eliminate, but certainly you would need to keep public services active, like police, fire, ambulance, hospitals, and the big one for me would be public works.
Such as maintaining sewers and water delivery systems and electricity and telephone and all of those.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And maintaining the trees in the community.
Yes.
Trees. Oh, my.
Yeah, that's kind of a big issue with us in our neighborhood. We have a lot of older trees, and they aren't always properly maintained.
Yes, well, part of that is the lack of funding from the city. But there again, that's an example of how an organized neighborhood can help. It's like just this morning, I called the city and I told the tree division that we have 3 trees that I know of where the limbs are resting on the rooftops. And they said, okay, give me the address and we'll send a crew out to check.
Wow, you did get response.
Good.
Yes.
Very good. May I just interrupt here? There is also a great app, and I think I don't know that I've mentioned this, but there's a great app. It's called Go Modesto. And if you have any issues, this just happens to be in Modesto. I'm not sure if Turlock has that or any of the other cities, and you just get on that app and tell them what problems you have. Maybe you see a pothole that needs to be taken care of, a tree that needs to be taken care of. Put that in there, and more than likely you're going to be seeing some services within the next week.
Really?
Yeah, it's a really great app.
Now, this application that you're talking about, is this a computer-oriented application, or is this something you put on your cell phone?
You put it on. I have mine on my cell phone. Yes.
So is it available for all the different operating systems with cell phones?
I'm sure. Go ahead, Teresa. You'd say.
You can report anything on the Go Modesto app. You can report a pothole, a raised sidewalk, a broken limb on a tree, tagging. They don't like you to, but you can report something suspicious. And I reported a raised sidewalk in front of the school one morning, and 20 minutes later, it was smoothed out.
Wow.
And so that's the most prompt. She's right. That's the most prompt way to get things done. And the county has it now, too.
Oh, okay.
So what would that be called?
What's that?
I think it's called Go Stanislaus, but I'm not sure.
Okay. We'll have to look
and
it up.
And you can find it at the...
in the App Store.
In the App Store?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's very interesting, because I had a raised sidewalk in front of my house, and I had to wait 3 years before I could get anybody to come and fix it. And it was only because one of the city supervisor or councilwoman came by my house and commented, "Gee, this is terrible. how long has this been like this? And I said, for 3 years. And she said, I'll get it taken care of right away. But I had contacted the city tree service because that's why the sidewalk was raised. And I contacted them 3 times, and they never sent anybody out to even investigate it. So that's interesting. I think I'm glad to see that there's an application that would actually address something like that.
It does.
So it's go Modesto and go Stanislaus.
Yep.
Wow. Well, Teresa, you've been involved with this community activism for quite a while. Do you think you're going to continue doing this? You're so involved, you probably become dependent on a lot of citizens.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll stay involved. As long as I can walk and talk, I'll be helping people.
Wow. Bless your heart.
Thank you, Alan.
Amen there.
Thank you, Pat.
We love Teresa.
It's been very interesting, Teresa, to have you comment on your activities, and we're just glad you're going to be around for quite a while, and we certainly appreciate your coming and telling us your story.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
Before we conclude this session, I want to announce that we're going to have to skip a week of podcasts. I have other business that I have to attend to, so I'm going to be out of town for about a week, and so we're going to skip October 20th, and our next podcast will occur on 10/27. That's the weekend of Saturday, the 27th of October. So until then, folks, enjoy.
And these are the upcoming events for Stanislaus Concerned Citizens. On October 16th, the American Values Oakdale group will be meeting at Mike's at the Kmart Center in Oakdale. That'll be at 7 p.m., and Oakdale issues are discussed. On October 17th, we will be meeting at the Modesto Police Department. We're going to be learning about identity fraud from Sergeant Meredith, and we will be meeting at the front door at between 5:30 and 5:45. We will be, someone will be escorting us into the room where we'll be having that meeting. On October 20th and 21st, the gun show at the Stanislaus Fairgrounds, Saturday 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. On October 25th, it'll be Let's Talk Election at the Grizzly Rock Cafe at 6 p.m. On November 7th, Modesto School Board member John Walker will be our guest speaker. At 5:30, we'll be talking the State of Jefferson, and the meeting will begin at 6:30 p.m., which is half an hour later than usual. On November 14th, more information to come on that meeting, as well as December 5th, more information will be coming on that meeting. On December 12th, State of Jefferson update will be at 6 o'clock, and Jake Wenger will be for the former MID board member, a local farmer, will speak on the water issues. You won't want to miss that meeting. Come on out and see us, everybody. That's Stanislaus Concerned Citizens. Thank you.
Thank you so much again to Teresa for coming on to our show and taking time out of her busy schedule to come chat with us. If you're interested in getting in touch with us, we would love to hear from you. Email us at feedback@jeffersonlibertyradio.com or via our website, jeffersonlibertyradio.com. We would love to hear your questions or comments. Don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes if you aren't already, or you can find us in your podcast client of choice. Just search for us, Jefferson Liberty Radio, and you will find us. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, and even some alternative social media such as BitChute and Gab. If you wouldn't mind leaving us a 5-star review everywhere you can find us, we would really appreciate that. We could use all the great ratings you can find. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode of Jefferson Liberty Radio in a couple weeks.